Flat locks, take one. Hey everyone, it's me Hallease back with another video. I just wanted to get on and do like a little digression on having flat locks and of course, talk about a few ways you can avoid them if you want to. My personal philosophy is I don't really mind them. I have quite a few myself and to each his own, but I know just within the overall aesthetic of the lock community, flat locks are usually generally seen as something that's an undesirable characteristic for your lock journey or whatever. But I personally, to each his own, I think there are people with beautiful heads of hair that have flat locks. I think they look great. But before we kind of get into some tips and tricks on how to minimize having flat locks, if that's what you so choose to do, I would say the biggest indicator of if you're going to have them is genetics. As I said before, I have quite a few flat locks on my head, and the reason for that is the texture of my hair. So the back of my hair, where most of my flat locks are, is zigzagged. It's literally like this. If you take a strand and look at it, it is a zigzag. It's not a curl, it's not a kink, it is horizontal, okay? And so because of that, because that is a natural shape of my hair, the locks mimic that. And that's just how they are. I can pull a few and show you one. It's going to be hard to tell because I have so many locks, but here is one. This is the flat side, right? And then when I turn it, you'll see how much thicker it is. I don't think it's a bad thing. It doesn't really bother me, but I know people within the lock community, you want to try to avoid that if you can. So here are a few tips and tricks on how to do that. Don't go to bed with wet hair. Do as I say, not as I do on this, hardcore, but don't go to bed with wet hair. And don't have wet hair and then constrict your locks in some way. Maybe you're wearing a hat or a scarf or something like that while they're in the drying process, because your hair is most malleable when it's wet. You lay down on it flat and it dries flat, and then hence you're flattening out your locks, flat locks. So avoid that. If you're going to wash your hair and if you're the type of person that air dries, make sure to give your locks time to completely dry before you do anything invasive to them, like again, put them in some kind of style, wrap, or go to bed. Tip number 2, I would say, is to incorporate palm rolling into your lock regimen if maintaining your locks regularly is something that you do. For those of y'all who know me, I am, basically freeform at this point, where all I do is pop to separate and that's it. But you can incorporate palm rolling, which is you roll your locks between your hand, kind of like when you're a kid and playing with Play-Doh, creating a cylinder and helping thereby help to maintain that circular shape of your locks. This is something that is more preventative. Again, it's not going to completely eradicate flat locks, Finally, the third tip I would say, and this is more so if you're someone who hasn't yet started your lock journey, but you're starting to do the research and starting to try to build up an idea of what you want your locks to look like in 5 to 10 years or whatever the case may be, consider the number of locks you have on your head. As I said before, I have quite a few locks on my head. I think I have a little over 150. At this point, I think it's like 175 or so. And I have quite a few of them are flat. But because I have so many, I think it is difficult to sort of pick out the sort of individual characteristics of each lock on my head because there are so many. You can't see the individual trees in a forest usually, you just see the forest, Whereas people who have maybe only 40 or 60 locks, it becomes very obvious and you can easily eyeball their hair and make out the distinct characteristics of each lock because each lock is so big. If you know that genetically you're gonna be a little more predisposed to having flatter locks, consider the number of locks you have, and then also if it's something that is gonna bother you. My final tip would just be to embrace it. I have quite a few flat locks on my head. Doesn't really bother me because again, with my whole lock journey, it's about, is my scalp clean? Is my hair healthy? And that's it. One of my favorite people that's locked, she's a musician, you've probably heard of her, Valerie June. She has big, flat locks. And I think they're so beautiful because when she curls them, it adds just this whole different dynamic to her hair that if her locks were circular, it wouldn't look as, I feel, just so, I don't know, just like, I just think they're beautiful. And I think her locks recently turned 18 years old or something like that, and she did a few posts on Instagram showing how her locks had changed over the years and all of that. And I just think her hair is so gorgeous, and she has very flat locks, like very, very flat. So, you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, as they say, and I really do think that's true. So yeah. Those are a few tips and tricks. In the comments below, if you've got other tips on how to avoid flat locks, let us know in the comments below, so that way if someone is out there trying to avoid them, we can give them all the help they need, all the resources they might need. If you're someone who's living your best flat locked life, let me know in the comments below as well. I want to hear from y'all too. Finally, Instagram is my favorite social media platform to be on besides this one, so feel free to tag me at Hallease Feast with your beautiful heads of hair, because like I said, I love seeing locks of all shapes and sizes, colors, just everything. So let me see what you are working with on Instagram if you're there, and I look forward to seeing you. And that's me. I'll see you when I see you.